All right. Well, first I just want to thank our panelists for being here tonight, taking the time to come speak with us. And it really means a lot to us. You guys have a lot more knowledge and experience in this than we do. And before we get started with our specific questions, I was wondering if you each wanted to take the time to introduce yourselves. Like, what's your name? What's your role in education? If you have multiple, what roles have you played? And how long have you been in this role?
Great. I'm Reid, and I'm actually a Macalester grad, and I have an educational studies minor. And I'll say that those classes really put me on the path that I'm on. I was also a history major with Peter Radcliffe there, so it's nice to be here with you. I was a teacher at St. Paul Public Schools for just about 10 years, and I worked in the early elementary. And I left there about 2.5 years ago. Well, I should say that while I was there, I was on the bargaining team, I was on our executive board, I was a steward, as a union steward in my building. I left there a couple years ago to continue that work of organizing, and I now work for the Minnesota Association of Professional Employees, which is a union that represents state employees and government agencies. So thanks to the MATE members who are epidemiologists right now.
So my name is Kimberly Colbert, and I am an English teacher from St. Paul on leave, working with Education Minnesota as their racial equity organizer, which means I work with our members of color, organizing them in affinity groups, doing mentoring for them with leadership into union leadership, and a lot of other things. My job is really sort of all over the place. I work with public affairs and help with some lobbying things and stuff like that. I began my career as an educational assistant at Central High School, and I was going to night school at the University of St. Thomas to get my master's degree, my master's in teaching. I was able to do that. I continued on as a teacher at Central and became involved with the St. Paul Federation of Educators in about 2007. I joined their negotiations team and negotiated until 2017 when I started working with Education Minnesota. I served on the executive board. I was the secretary for a while. And I was also a board member for the National Education Association, which is one of 2 national organizations that Education Minnesota, the state educators union, is part of. So we're part of NEA and American Federation of Teachers.
Cool, thank you.
Hi.
My name is Michael Thompson. I'm the principal at Johnson High School, which is about 3/4 of a mile through the neighborhood right over there. We have 1,400 students, 142 staff members. What else? Oh, this is my 35th year in education. Ooh. So I spent 14 years teaching at Johnson. I spent 4 years working for Jesse Ventura at the state as a language arts specialist. I didn't really work for Jesse, he happened to be a governor. No, he would come to the office now and then say crazy things. Nothing like what we're used to now, though. And I've been a principal in St. Paul for 10 years, and so I've done work for the state, and then I was I was a curriculum coordinator for this school district for about 7 years.
Didn't you do assistant superintendency stuff? No?
Oh, I never did that.
Okay.
Where'd you go to college?
Oh yeah, 1,000 years ago I went to this place called Macalester. Peter wasn't even there yet.
Hello, my name is Janey Atchison. Sorry I was running late. I am currently a teacher on strike at SPFE. I teach 7th grade U.S. history at Murray Middle School. What else do I do? In the union, I'm on their COPE committee, which is the Committee on Political Education. Thank you. Political action, if you would. Yeah. Yes, we don't use dues dollars. It's all donations from members out of their paychecks. I have my master's from Metro State. He was actually my teacher. In urban education, and my focus is on education funding policy. That's and I sit on the state task force around that issue, around Minnesota funding and education.
So right before we started, we were talking, and Kimberly had mentioned that she wanted to talk about the 3 frames of unionism to add a little context to our presentation. So if you wouldn't mind talking about that, and then other panelists can jump in.
Sure. So when you're thinking about unionism, you're thinking about power and collective power. And there are, according to Jane McAlevey, if you ever do any union stuff, 3 kinds of power. There's advocacy, which is kind of when you have a small group of people who go out and talk in favor of something for a larger group of people. There's mobilization, when you bring together a large group of people, but the large group may or may not have a stake in it. And then there's organizing, which is really bottom up, where your collective power comes from the large group of members that you've pulled together. And I wanted to talk about that because bargaining for the common good really is about an organizing model of unionism. But it's also, there are also 3 frames of unionism that you look at. There's industrial unionism, which is bread and butter issues. So Say it, no, go ahead.
Which are?
I was going to say, salary, benefits, bread and butter kinds of things. You have professional unionism, which is professional development. So whatever, in the context of education, whatever we might be offered or we might actually provide for fellow members in terms of training. And then there's social justice unionism, which has to do with a lot of the anti-racist things that you see in some of the current campaigns, any kind of equity. Am I leaving anything out? Would that be about right? Okay. And so if you think about unionism as a social justice movement in and of itself, social justice is really all-encompassing of all of the other frames, as is bargaining for the common good, right? Because our students' working conditions, or our students' learning conditions are our working conditions. So I wanted to give you all that information so you have a little bit more of a context when we start talking.